Welcome to the Confidence Through Health podcast. In episode 175, I speak with Jay Shafer of Zurvita. He is the CEO and founder, and it's a health and wellness company that is geared towards helping you supplement your life, but also their goal is to not just make your life better, but to make lives better across the world. And they have a cause and a purpose behind what they do, which is their zeal for meals. We talk about that. And how they're going out to not just help their customers and clients with products that are great for them, but using profits to donate to this Zeals for Meals program, where they are helping starving, hungry people across the world. And they're very close to hitting their initial goal of 1 million meals to that population. So Jay talks about why that's important, about a little bit about the story, about what's going on with that, how it makes it very personal for their customers, for their coaches, for their business. And we talk about the things that you need to be successful, whether it's in a business world, as he's created his business, or in the health world with your own health, or really in any part of life, in that you need the consistency and the discipline and to follow the plan, and you need people around you in the community. And so all of those things are important. And we talk about all of that. It's a great conversation. It's very motivational. I was ready to go out and just tackle the world after talking with Jay. He obviously has a great motivating personality, but he has a great head for understanding how to get things done, and how to use the purpose that you have and the mission that you have to be able to create your success for yourself. So it's great information in every part of your life, definitely for your health as well. And I hope you enjoy this episode. Well, thank you, Jay, for joining me on the Confidence Through Health podcast.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
So, there's probably a lot of people that aren't going to know who you are. And so give us a brief breakdown of of why you got into the health field. Why is being in the health space important to you? And sort of how did you get into it?
Well, how I got into it is a very, very long story. But myself and 3 other partners wanted to really get into the direct selling space. Mm-hmm. as kind of how it kicked off. Right. And then most companies, get started with a purpose, mm-hmm. and a cause and a mission. And I think it took us a while to find ours. But at the end of the day, we decided it was making people feel better.
Okay.
Feel better about themselves, health and wellness. And, everybody, that affects everybody.
Oh yeah.
So we thought, okay, this is a good place to start.
Right.
And this is a crazy story, but we took a lot of people and put them in a room with our doctors, mm-hmm. and everybody said, well, what would you want in the optimum product? And they say, mm-hmm. well, I would like this and that. And, by the time it was over, there was like 100 things. And our formulator said, well, we can put all that in there, but it's going to taste terrible.
Right. So yeah, of course.
we backed off of that and came up with Zeal, which is our kind of flagship product.
Yeah.
And we immediately started impacting lives, and we said, okay, this is fun. Yeah. This is actually fun. Yeah. So
it's cool that you started with, which I think a lot of people don't do. You started with your customer 100% in mind, as opposed to I have this idea, I'm going to go do this, but then they miss the boat on, does anybody really want this?
Yeah, we did. And I'd have to say that it took us about 4 years mm-hmm. to come up with this product. So we had a lot of trial and error. And right. But we were all consumers, and we kind of had to answer, okay, would you take this?
Right.
If you take this, myself and other people on staff, then we thought, okay, then we can feel good about selling this to somebody.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And the purpose is the drive is to help people, right? The drive is to help them with their health, to get them, in part of what I do with this podcast is to provide people ways to take control of their own health, so they're not reliant on the healthcare system, right?
Oh, big time, yeah. Right. So when we started, Zeal was, sort of word of the mouth, mm-hmm. and it just went out there, and people were saying things that was Zeal. I got up off the couch, I took this and it made me feel better. And, we have to be careful of claims, but
Sure.
just all these crazy stories. And so people just started sharing it. And what was really important for us is that they could feel confident sharing it.
Right.
And that's how Zervita really took off, was just word of mouth, and the product really worked. And to your point, if you have somebody that's sitting on the couch for a while or has put on a few pounds and they suddenly feel better, or their anxiety goes down, or the depression goes down,
Right.
you've made a difference then, because then they can take the next step and continue the kind of the discipline process.
Right. And so you mentioned discipline right there, and that's a key piece to so many areas of life, right? And being successful, and obviously you founded and have a successful business going on. Like, how do you see that correlation between like the things that you did to get the business started, but then you see people with their lives and how they're changing? Is that discipline the same? Is it the same like muscle, if you will, that's got to be exercised?
Well, yeah, it's up here, right?
Yeah.
And you really have to decide that you're going to be consistent and be disciplined and just do the small things that's going to make your life better. And I think when you look at it from a company perspective and an individual perspective, it's those little decisions that if we push off and are not disciplined and don't understand the kind of the results of those little decisions, then, we end up not where we want to be. And so, yeah, we quickly found out that the small things we were deciding on in a company environment really affected and impacted a lot of people. And so it's not rocket science. You just try to do the same thing and encourage people to do the same thing. So discipline is so important.
Yeah.
And then taking those steps, when you don't feel like be disciplined,
Right. Yeah. And following through on the plan. And it's just like and there's so many people that have done it. And I imagine as you got into, this multi-billion-dollar industry and going, okay, this is a space we want to go into, but there's, there's so much competition, right? I mean, imagine you saw that, right out the gate, like, oh my gosh, there's so many different products out there. How are we going to differentiate? How are we going to do these things? But that discipline to go, okay, well, but there is a step-by-step process because other people have done it. So if I just follow the process, I'm going to be okay, even when those ups and downs come, right?
I think you're absolutely correct. You just have to decide ahead of time. You're going to follow the steps, follow the process, and trust that a lot of people have gone before you and have followed the same process as you are related to, and then they've become successful because they followed that process. Not even necessarily because of the product. The product's important, but I believe really that the decisions you make and the steps you take, again, it's not rocket science. You can see a lot of other people have gone before you.
Right.
And particularly in this industry, there are some Goliaths. I mean, big companies, award-winning products, and, little Zervita is going to pop in and try to compete with them.
Yeah.
Well, again, it goes back to cause too. Okay, why are we doing what we're doing? So if we're believing what we're doing, then let's go through the pain, so to speak, and then get to the end.
Right.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
Right. Well, and that pain can be in multiple ways. Like, because one of the things that I found for me that works really well, as an athlete and from a recovery standpoint, as I'm getting older, is beet juice beets have just amazing recovery product for your body, for the ingredients that they produce. And so I started drinking beet juice, and I was like, for 30 days, this sucked. Like, tasted horrible. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't even, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. But so much research that had told me this is what people, it's successful, it works. But then after that 30 days, it's like, okay, now I mean, I can down 40 ounces of beet juice if I needed to in a day, and like, no big deal, Of course, that's been taken, like I said, the first 30 days, and then of course years of being able to do it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's that initial pain piece, whatever it is, and whether it's adding a product into the piece of the puzzle, right? Like if you start taking Zeal, it's like, okay, well, it's not a magic pill, right? There's still other things you still have to do along with the process that's going to be painful, and you have to see that end of the tunnel is coming.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to drop the cake and the candy bars and the pizza if you're taking the Zeal. It's funny you say beet juice, because I have always just had a disdain for beets. Yeah. They just tasted like dirt to me. Same thing. I'm one of those people, kind of sound like you, that if it's good for me, I'm going to take it raw. I did the same thing, took bee juice, and now it's like, okay, this doesn't taste too bad. And
Right.
the effects are incredible. So
Oh yeah.
we're actually testing a bee juice product now. But yeah, to your point, yeah, if you can decide ahead of time, do it for a period of time, and
Right.
next thing you know, you're like, oh, okay, I'm reaping the benefits, and
Right.
it makes life easier, actually. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's like for someone who's for someone who's seen as much success as you had in the health space now, the health and wellness space, like your driving passion behind what you do on a daily basis to help people, like how do you maintain that? How is that something that you're like, because I think that's also something that some people, when they get to, okay, I'm over the hump of the initial, but now I'm 6 months in, I'm still not to where I need to be from a goal standpoint, from a health standpoint. How do like that motivation starts to wane? Like how do you stay motivated to help people and do what you do?
Well, I believe you have to have a why and a cause,
Mm-hmm.
right, to get you through those periods of times. And
Yeah.
I believe that God has called us to do something very specific in this space, and to help people, and then, obviously, provide food for people later on. And then
Right.
when you get to those points where you've been through the discipline process, you've done all you can do, and you're just trying to scratch in your head. For example, people who try to lose weight, they get to some plateau,
Right.
and and the coach tells them, keep going, keep going, keep
Mm-hmm.
going. That's kind of when you got to draw in on your why. And
Yeah.
so honestly, that is what keeps us going, is, okay, God, we feel like you called us to do this no matter what the obstacles. Let's get through the obstacles. And particularly, the last 3 years
Oh
for
yeah.
any business has
Yeah.
been crazy.
Yeah.
I think we're still trying to figure out what
Oh yeah.
happened, and where
Yeah.
it's taken us. And
Yeah.
many times, we've been on our knees and say, okay, look, this is what we're supposed to do, and we'll keep doing it, and we won't worry about the results.
Right.
That's easy to say,
Yeah.
and we'll keep pushing forward. But I really believe you have to have a real reason, a cause,
Mm-hmm.
to keep you going, take the courageous steps, and to keep your commitment going.
Right. Right. And y'all's as a
I'd say that's
company.
what drives everybody here.
Yeah. And y'all's as a company is the Zeal for Meals, right?
It is.
Like
It
talk a
is.
little bit about that program, because I think it's key, especially when you're looking for, a supplement or something to add into to your diet, because it's one of the things that you put on your website, which I love, is that like y'all noticed that soil was nutritionally deficient, and there had to be like you're not going to get the same level of nutrition just eating, the same plant-based diet that maybe was around in the 30s and 40s, because the soil's so different. You have to supplement with something. And
Yeah.
so, one of the things that I look at is like not just, okay, what's in the supplement, like, and how well did they go about the third party testing and all those types of things, but like, what's the company stand for? Like, what are they doing? And I think that y'all have a tremendous purpose with the Zeal for Meals.
Yeah, the Zeal for Meals was it's and I'll tell a quick story because it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
We were traveling. Long story short, we went into this little, I want to call it a 200 square foot little craft store.
Okay.
And we walked in, and Darren and Michelle Gillette, who actually run the store, had all these pens sitting
Mm-hmm.
on the bar table.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what are those pens? He said, well, we call it pens with a purpose. And I said, well, what's that mean? And they said, well, we give away, we custom make them. We give away meals for those particularly people. And it just kind of, it didn't really register, you know. Then Susie was with me, and she turned around. There was a U.S. flag, and she said, "I'd like to have, yeah, let's get that U.S. flag." And it was $50 made out of
Mm-hmm.
wood, you know. And
Yeah.
so he said, "Okay, wait a second." He went to the middle of the room, and he updated a counter. It went from 275,000 to 275,100. And I said, "What
Mm-hmm.
are you doing?" He says, "Well, you just fed 100 people." I said,
Oh
"What do you
wow.
mean we fed 100 people?" And he just said, "Well, if you bring a craft into my store, he's a retired real estate executive. If you bring a craft to my store, you have to agree to provide meals through a company called Serve. I said, well, that's fascinating. And so we went and grabbed I said, can I have 10 pens? And he said, sure. So long story short, in November of, be 21, we decided to do a test. So we contacted 3 of our leaders. If you'll get 50 people each, and if you'll do 5 pieces of business between November 15th and December 15th, which is a very hard time to do extra pieces, particularly 5 pieces, then we'll take a look at implementing a field-wide program. And each pen each piece of business you get, if you do 5, you'll feed 25 people. We'll send you a pen, and the company will donate another 5,000 meals in your name. Long story short, every single group hit 5 pieces of business. And beyond. Some people hit 20, and it just took off like wildfire because there was the cause. Great time of year. Hey, buy this canister of Zeo. We're going to feed 3 people. And it really emotionally affected a lot of people. So suddenly we're like, okay, there's something here. So Darren put us in touch with Steve Kasha, the founder of Serve. And we worked out this arrangement where each canister of Zeo actually feeds 3 people. And if you subscribe to it, it continues to feed 3 people. And we've done the same with other products. Now, what's fascinating about this, we're about 860,000 meals. Our goal was to hit a million meals. Well, 2 of our executives just went to Kenya, where Steve Serve actually feeds the meals. So this is what's fascinating. You know, if you're like me, unfortunately, sometimes we can get a little jaded, and you can see a starving child on the TV or some commercial billboard. It just doesn't register, right? And so we knew we were feeding people, and Serve, the organization we go through, goes to a part of Kenya when nobody else goes to. And so 2 of our executives went to Kenya with Steve. And so, you know, we've fed 860,000 people so far. Pretty cool, right?
That's awesome.
You know, it's just like it doesn't really register yet. Well, all of a sudden, our eyes were wide opened. So they not only take this food that is grown by 700 widows. That's what's really cool. So in Kenya, if you're a widow, you're kind of an outcast. So you have a chance to grow this blend, and it's approved by what we would call our FDA equivalent. And you get a bag of food, and it feeds 50 people. And you mix it up, you heat it up. It's actually really good. And what we didn't know is that we were taking care of about 5 or 6 tribes. Where the death rate, since we got involved, the doctor would tell you that the death rate is from malnutrition is down to 0. Because of the consistency of the food, right? So it's a little different. So it's not just, hey, we're going to feed somebody, and there, if you get a meal in a day, that's luxurious. We're providing consistent food because of our contributions through Serve. And Serve's a great organization, by the way. They have 6 people that work for them, and they fed 14 million people last year. 14 million.
That's amazing.
But they've been committed to this area. So we found out suddenly that we're helping a doctor. We're helping an orphanage. Susie and Andre, who went over, actually rescued 10 orphans. So when I say rescue, they're going to die from malnutrition. And so they actually got to go to the village, pick them up, take them back to the orphanage, get them acclimated to the orphanage, and then boom, they're gone. The other, I'm sorry, I'm going on. This is very exciting.
You're good.
We found all this out just now that our meals, it was much more than meals, and we didn't know. You know, we know how much money we give to Serve,
Right.
to feed the people. And when I look at it and compare, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
So a dollar goes so much further over there,
Right.
and you're literally rescuing people. And when they were there, the doctor was checking a little boy who would have died.
Yeah.
And they rushed into the hospital. And so we're taking it. And then we were also able to establish a church. So
Wow.
it became much more than just feeding people.
Yeah.
And I would say it really gave our company, this is just 2 weeks ago, we're finding all this out. We didn't realize this. A huge cause. It's just motivating people to suddenly say, oh, okay. And so we're putting names with faces.
Right.
So little Nancy, we adopted Nancy. We adopted a little boy named Lem Lem. And the cool thing is, this is a very intimate organization. So it's not like we're giving our money to a big, worldwide, which is very important, still very important.
Sure.
We know we're making a direct impact.
Yeah.
We know our money's going right into somebody's stomach. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
That is cool. And that's that. I mean, the purpose behind that, I mean, but take apart like the amazing pieces of the work that Serve is doing with that. But the purpose that it's got to give you is like, okay, well, I was called to start this little, health product. And, just a few years later now, and this is where we're at in the impact you're making. I mean, that's got to be an amazing drive every day.
It is the drive, right? At the end of the day. And we want to be a company of provision. So yes, we want to feed the hungry, but as we all know, coming through the pandemic, going through the inflation situation we've gone through in the economy, $100 just doesn't go the way it used to go.
Right.
And so people, very good people, need to make a couple extra $100. So if they can legitimately drive an Uber or, work for Uber Eats, whatever, they can sell a canister of Zeal, and get recurring revenue versus a one-time revenue.
Right.
So I think when we came through the pandemic and we were still alive, and then of course we went through the supply chain issue crisis.
Right. I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, people don't really understand what that was like, but it was a nightmare every day because you didn't know. The funny thing was we had canisters. We couldn't find lids for our canisters.
Oh, wow.
I thought they made them on the same place. Nope.
Right.
One place makes canisters, one place for lids. So we had a lid shortage. So
that's crazy.
But then you really start questioning yourself. So, okay, what are we really doing here? Is it about making money? Is it about getting revenue up and winning some kind of award? Nah, not at the end of the day. It just doesn't last, right?
Right.
And I think a lot of people still are questioning that. They've come through the pandemic. They're still scratching their heads, say, okay, what am I doing? What am I going to do? How do I do what I think I want to do? Yeah. And so this really has ignited and almost refreshened everybody. Okay, we can work. If you're starving and you call me and say, okay, Jay, I need food for my family. Well, that's much more personal, and I can really get behind that versus, hey, give $100 to somebody. And that's important. Again, I'm not trying to belittle that, but this is just so cool that it's very personal. Yeah.
Well, and like you said, it's in what I let off with is that you need to know where your money's going when you're going to donate or you're going to support somebody. And to avoid the bureaucracy pieces of it, because if they're feeding 14 million people with only 6 staff members, that there's no overhead being wasted anywhere. Like that is so lean. That is crazy.
I know, it's a crazy lean. That's what I told them.
Yeah.
So I have to come take a lesson from them. Although my employees might not like that.
Right. But so when we look at, going back to like each individual is we're trying to help the people, here that are dealing with their health issues. And, they're looking for a solution and they're looking for a supplement. They're looking for vitamins. They're looking for something to help them. Like, would you say it's a fair statement that our society has gone away from a healthcare system and we have a sick care system, and until we stop this cycle that we're on of, so many people go to the doctor, they get a prescription, they go to the doctor, they get another prescription, it doesn't help, and it's this bad cycle that is, with different side effects from different things. It's like, okay, wait, if we could stop that somewhere in that cycle and move over to a healthy, something that's going to get us going in the right direction, whether it's our gut, our brain, or whatever it is that our body needs to be balanced. If we find that supplement that can do that, we can change the cycle from going totally to a sick care system back to a prevention and true healthcare system. Did you say that's a fair statement?
That's a very fair statement. Yeah, I'd say it's a very accurate statement. Yeah, I think it's messed up, the whole healthcare system. But when you, to your point, when you look at some of the supplements out there, and look, there are superfoods out there that have so many studies behind them that if you just take on a regular basis, you're going to be you will improve your health. And people, unfortunately, got accustomed to just popping a pill to take care of things, but you really can if you're research the supplements. We have stabilized rice bran as our flagship ingredient, and when you look at the studies around that, it's just a superfood. So why wouldn't you take that to help you on a regular basis? Because I mean, I know a lot of people. And a lot of people who are very serious about health take a lot of supplements because they know the value of those supplements. Yeah. And our product is what we call a functional food. So you literally can, it's kind of like broccoli. You can eat as much as you can stand, and you can drink as much as you want, and it has a function to it. Right. We have clinical trials. So I think if people open their eyes, that we could really improve. I mean, look at all the money that goes into our healthcare system. Oh yeah. And it's almost like what you're taking is just prolonging something or just takes away the pain. Whereas many of these supplements can actually change your health in a permanent basis. Right.
And I think that's what you said is so true, that so many people just, they want to avoid the pain, which goes back to, okay, you're going to have temporary pain. If you just follow the discipline, follow the process, you can get to the other side. And I'm not saying, like, obviously if you break your arm, I mean, don't try and take a supplement for it. You go and, get treated for it. But some of the chronic things that we have that we've created ourselves based on what we've eaten and what we've avoided, right? We've avoided the good things that our body needs, our cells need to create a healthy body. And we create this toxic system and then add, toxic chemicals to it in the form of pharmaceuticals. And it's like, if you go to, like you said, the superfoods, and even not the superfoods, but just the true, fruits and vegetables and things that we know have the nutrition in them. Whether you get it from there or get it from a supplement that's added some of those things in just so you can, like you said, overdose, if you will, of the good stuff, because you're not going to hurt your body. You're only going to help it the more you put in.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd be amazed at what a change we'd see if somebody maybe ate an apple a day and or a cup of broccoli a day. Just stay on that, see how you feel, or get your blood result. And I think you'd see a tremendous result. It's amazing how people do not eat fruit, consume fruit or vegetables. It's amazing. Yeah. Shocking, actually.
It is. And so what do you think, like, when we look at everything that's out there, like what needs to happen? Like, is there something that can be done, or is it just it's an uphill battle for people like you that are just, we're trying so hard against, because we all know that there's some big ag and some big pharma money out there that's driving their agendas. And so is it strictly just an uphill battle, or is it a word of mouth that people are just going to have to get fed up enough to say, we don't want that anymore?
Well, I know you don't want to get into political conversation,
right? Yeah,
but there's some big issues, right? Big topics. But I do believe there is change happening as we speak. I believe that people have been in this form of a lifestyle long enough where people start looking, they can see people like yourself, like Peter Nielsen, our coach. They say, hey, this guy looks good. He's this old, and wow, he's like 20 years younger
Right.
than the normal Joe. And because he's very disciplined in what he eats and consumes.
Yeah.
And I think word is beginning to get out because, as we would probably say, it's a pandemic itself.
Oh yeah.
Unhealthy people. I go to somewhere and I'm looking around. I'm like, wow. So out of 20 people in this room, 17 or 18 are overweight.
Right. That's
Why?
scary. It's scary.
And
Yeah.
then and then the foods that are available are so addicting in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, sugar
Right.
and I just don't. I think the awareness is becoming. Yeah. So I would say it's a battle. I would say
Yeah.
it's an uphill battle, but I
Yeah.
think it's one we can make a change in.
Yeah. And is that something that you're seeing? And granted, I know the pandemic threw a lot of stuff off as far as, availability and it made, like you mentioned, Uber Eats and those types of things, and it made delivery skyrocketed. And so people were like, I don't, let me just get the fried food or the whatever food or but are you seeing overall as trends? Are you seeing that happening in both with your business, but also in the other supplement businesses? Is it increasing and people are starting to take notice and go, okay, I really do need to have these things in my life?
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
It's not taken off like a rocket,
Yeah.
but you feel it's more solid. So people are beginning to really make a choice. Okay, I need this. I need
Right.
to take better care of myself because of what happened the last 2 years.
Right.
And I think mentally people are becoming a little more grounded now
Mhm.
in what they believe and what they know they need for their family. And I believe mentally the pandemic, just even strong people, it just threw for a loop, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it took them a while to come out of it. And then if you did have some kind of medical situation during that time, but yes, we're seeing it slowly. But again, I think the difference is it's more sure, it's more consistent. So yeah, I'm hoping that we continue to see upticks in our business. Because
Well, that's
one person at a time.
right. Right. Well, and that's cool. And that's really good to hear from the standpoint of it's not like, well, we're stable at this point, which means that you've got people trying it and getting out and trying it and getting out. And so it's like, okay, they're seeing the benefits and sticking with it, which I think is hugely beneficial. And it does take time, to make these kind
Yeah.
of lifestyle changes. It's not just wake up tomorrow morning and, oh, that's who I'm going to be today.
Right.
It's
It takes a lot of time and it takes some people around you. It takes a community
right.
sometimes, just people
Yeah.
encouraging you, supporting you.
Right.
I think
And
that's
having those people that have been through those ups and downs.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was listening to one of our customers last night on a webinar, and she just stuck with it in the change in her lifestyle, the way she feels now, and the way she looks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sincerely, she looks 10 to 15 years younger because she did what we've been talking about. Just made a decision, got disciplined, didn't try to, run 50 miles in one day or do a marathon,
Right.
but slowly but surely worked out and just stayed real committed and consistent with it.
Yeah.
It's funny. Steve, the founder of Serve, was telling me, Jay, it's not the amount of money you're giving, it's the consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And it's consistent every week. This is coming in. So I take that same principle and put it to people who want to change their life. It's just the consistency.
Right. Yeah. It's that small compounding effect piece of it that, you start off and you may not see the initial results, right? It may take some time for you to actually see it happen, but it's like, I relate it to sort of like, when you've got little kids and they don't see their grandparents for 4 months or 6 months, and then they're like, oh my gosh, you've grown so much. You've changed so much. Well, the same thing happens if you start taking care of your health. You may not see it every day because you're with yourself every day, but that person you see every 3 or 4 months, when they see you the next time, they're going to go, oh my gosh, you look good.
Yeah. And they will. Yes.
And in the feeling piece of it, I think, and so I'm curious, is when you started out, like, were you aware of, okay, we're going to do something that's going to help people with their health, were you aware of the like I call a side benefit of the mental clarity and the mental health and the anxiety reduction and those kinds of things? Did you know that was going to happen, or was that sort of like, ooh, wow, hey, that's cool?
No, I wasn't that smart to
Yeah,
research that and study that. No, it was a very pleasant surprise
yeah,
from a lot of people, even in myself included. It's, oh, wow, this is a great feeling. I don't want
yeah,
to lose this.
right,
Let's keep at this. Yeah, that
right,
was a nice, very nice surprise. And
yeah,
you hear that a lot from people.
yeah.
Oh, wow. And that's to me is sort of an addiction that is a good one.
Oh,
When
yeah,
you start feeling like that, then okay, keeps you going
right. Well,
on your.
and it's one of those things that, like, one of the things I tell people a lot is that if you're eating the standard American diet and you're getting poor nutrition and you're dehydrated and you're doing all the things that most people unfortunately do that are all wrong from a health standpoint, you don't know what good or bad feels like because you're so bad all the time from a feeling standpoint. And so once you start to feel good and then you have that bad moment, you go, whoa, what did I
Yeah,
do? What did I do wrong? Right?
yes, yes. I honestly think that's how we really got started well, is because people were, they'd spend the money to buy a canister of Zeal,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden they're like, wow, I didn't realize I felt this made me feel this good,
Right.
because I was feeling this bad.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing they spent money for it, because at least at that point they're like, okay, I at least try it for
Yeah.
30 days because I spent the money. And
Yeah.
then it has enough time to produce results.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's something that's also something that I think a lot of times people don't realize how quickly some results will happen while others take time, right? Like the weight loss takes time. It's just a factor of however much you gained, it's going to take that long to get it off. But the feeling standpoint, that can happen pretty quickly. That can, how it affects the neurotransmitters in your brain and how those things fire off. And so you get that feeling that can happen pretty quickly. And you go, okay, wait a minute. This is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yes. We have that's a big um, benefit of our Zeal product, is that
Mm-hmm.
you can feel it very fast. And of course,
Yeah.
we have clinical trials behind it on a 30-day basis, double
Yeah.
blind, all the gold standard,
Right.
but they can feel it right away. Now
Yeah.
we have a probiotic that takes a little longer to see the full results of it, but you do see the results, right?
Yeah.
Particularly as we've discussed, if you haven't been on or taking care of your gut,
Yeah.
then wow, you really do see the benefits, and it enhances the benefits of Zeal.
Yeah.
Yeah. We released a product not too long ago that our scientific advisory board said, Jay, you're going to see results in 28 days. It was a collagen product
Mm.
with some exclusive ingredients in it.
Yeah.
Again, a functional food. And I said, Bernie, I called him back, said, you can't make those kinds of claims, where it's 20. He said, Jay,
Yeah.
I've studied it. I've seen the clinical trials. You're going to see results. And all of a sudden, within 10 days, 11 days, we're seeing pictures on Facebook and on the social media
Mm.
about how it had impacted. But the 30-day results were unbelievable. I thought people had doctored their, photos, but they
Yeah.
hadn't. But
Yeah.
what the surprising thing was, again, you see, if you take these products, there are side benefits to this product. So
Mm.
collagen, of course, is great for your skin, et cetera, and the other ingredients, but
Right.
it's also great for joints.
Right.
Help. And so we started hearing right away, oh my gosh, my knees feel better.
Yeah.
My elbows feel better. And we heard that within 3 days. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. You can get the immediate results, but then it's good. The long-term results are crazy good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that just really that speaks to what's going on in your body and, at the cellular level and at the DNA level. And if you feed yourself the right stuff on a consistent basis, just like you were talking about with Serve, if you do it on a consistent basis, it's much better than you give one person one meal one day. Okay, well that's great. But when you're consistent every day, that's when you can make changes, both whether it's your own health or whether it's, across the world. It's that consistency piece again.
Yes. Yeah. Makes huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, discipline, consistency, right?
Yeah.
And cause. I mean,
Yeah.
you can conquer a lot of mountains with those.
Right. Well, and you've done that. Like, and you've proven it, which is great, and it's amazing. And I want to be respectful of your time, and so I want to give you an opportunity to tell people how they can get, find out more about what you're doing with Zervita. Is there a social media way they can follow you, that kind of thing? How can they connect with you?
Yeah, anybody could go to Zervita.com and check out our products, the clinical trials behind the products, information, order products, etc. We have, 15,000 consultants, around the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, and you can get in contact with them through the company,
Right.
and follow us on social media, Zervita, Facebook, etc. But yeah, it's just a fun community.
Yeah.
The products work, and we do have a mission and a cause, and that's to make sure if people here need a couple extra $100, you can do it by offering legitimate, real products
Right.
that aren't scams, and then you can also feed the hungry at the same time. So
Right.
we're going to be pushing that more than we ever have. So we're excited about
Yeah.
what's coming. Yeah.
No, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So, anything else that we need to know about what's going on, or any last words of wisdom for my listeners about how to take charge of their health on their own?
Well, I'd listen to this podcast. I think
Right.
that's a great way, because I listened a couple years before, and it's great
Oh, thank you.
information.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, seriously. I think these are great benefits to help us, particularly when it's kind of grassroots, right?
Right.
And so there's a lot of good information out there, a lot of wise information and counsel. So no, and just find your why, be consistent with it, committed to it, and stay tuned, because you will get some results in whatever you're trying to do. So yeah, I appreciate
Awesome.
what you're trying to do here, and any way we can help, please let us know.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being a guest, Jay.
Well, thank you. Thank you.